Is your business protected against the threat of malicious litigation and frivolous lawsuits? Are you sinking company profits into marketing campaigns that do nothing to contribute to the growth of your business? Bottled Business Sense provides practical business perspectives that uniquely emphasize both legal and media marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. And whether you're trying to provide a startup business with some level of stability or an established business with foolproof asset and estate protection, or simply attempting to get a better return for your business marketing dollars, Bill Bernard and Rick Moscoso will expose potential pitfalls to ensure the security and growth of your business, free from unwanted expense and the threat of litigation. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection tools equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Let's join Bill and Rick for today's Bottled Business Sense show.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday here on the Bottled Business Sense show. I'm Rick Moscoso, one of your hosts for this morning. I want to welcome everybody back to the show. Hope everyone's doing well. Today we have a great topic that Bill is going to help discuss with us, and it is the 8 asset protection strategies, how to protect your wealth from lawsuits. But before we get into that topic, I want to welcome Bill onto the show. How are you doing today, Bill?
Hey, Rick, doing fine. Thank you. Glad to be back. I am, as you can see, decided to grow a little beard here for a while, so I'm apologize to the viewers for looking a little scruffy, but, hey, it's got to come in and start at some point, right? So I'm doing my best to speed things up. But in any event, I thought today would be kind of a good way to tie some things in that we've been talking about over the last few years. Because asset protection strategies change depending on your specific circumstance, and that's why you should always discuss that with a lawyer individually. But there are certain basic primary ones that are critical to understand and to at least have in the back of your mind when you go in and consult with an attorney, so you have some foundation to build upon. So I thought we'd talk today a little bit about the threats that you face when you try to protect your wealth or when you're operating your business, and then how to protect yourself from those threats. And when we talk about threats, we talk about both professional threats from your business and personal threats from things that you do in your everyday life in terms of personal liability, whether you have a business or not. So when you're operating professionally, you have possible lawsuits coming your way against trademark infringement, for example, or sexual harassment allegations if you have employees. So if you're using a trademark that you haven't checked out and it belongs to somebody else, you could be sued. If you have employees and you don't know the law concerning employment law, you could be sued for sexual harassment, wrongful termination, employment discrimination. If you're a producer of products, you could be sued for what's called typically products liability. If you produce a product that causes liability to somebody, it could be a faulty product. If you're a professional, like myself, you could be sued for malpractice. And of course, if you're operating a business, Rick, what does every business typically have? I mean, what does every business, let me put it another way, what should every business have when they enter a business relationship with another business or another individual?
Well, there's certainly contracts and agreement.
Fantastic. That's what I wanted to hear. Yes. So you could be sued for breach of contract. So you could be sued for these are just some examples: trademark infringement, sexual harassment, employment discrimination, faulty products or products liability, malpractice claims, breach of contract. What about automobile accidents? What about if you have a driver who's an employee of yours and that driver gets into an automobile accident? That could cause liability to your business. What about workers' compensation? Workers' compensation would deal with an injured employee on the job. By state law in California, you must have workers' compensation insurance or you could suffer severe penalties. And what about somebody coming into to your studio, Rick, to have some photographs taken? And you had your sweet little boy, who I know very well, in there the day before, and he spilled some lemonade on the floor, and you didn't know about it. But you didn't bother to clean the floor the next morning, and somebody comes in to get some photos taken, they slip and fall and break their neck. Guess who they're going to come after? Not your son, but you.
Right.
So there's a typical slip and fall accident. So all of these things can be coming at your business completely independent from what you do in your personal life. Now let's switch gears a second. What about personal liability? Well, what's the one, when you helped me design my website, Rick, we one of the things we put up there on the banner was, "Are you ready for?" And then we talked about some of the things that you should be ready for, right? Do you remember what one of the critical ones was?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, it begins with a D.
Oh, well, divorce. Divorce.
Well, divorce. Isn't that interesting? Because there was two of them that begin with a D, Rick. Divorce and death, and you picked divorce, which means you think it's worse than death. So divorce, a big deal, right? If you don't have proper asset protection in place, it could be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we go back to automobile accidents. Now, this time, instead of an employee having an accident, you could have an accident, or your wife could have an accident, God forbid, and injure or kill somebody. What about if you're having a party, Rick, at your house, and you're hosting alcohol, and somebody drinks a lot of alcohol and drives home and gets into an automobile accident? There could potentially be liability there, or any kind of a situation that we talked about earlier, like a slip and fall in your home, a foreclosure. Somebody forecloses on a piece of property that you own because you have some financial difficulties. These are all things from both a business and personal standpoint that come into play when you want to try to decide, okay, what do I do to protect my assets? And so now that we switch gears and talk about how you protect yourself, again, Rick, I got to call upon you to tell me what the most talked about issue is over the course of the last 3 years that we've always talked about on the show. What's one of the things that you typically do in your business to protect yourself?
Well, you emphasize, right?
Emphasize, right. And that's then we coined that phrase on this show. So we should point out that what we mean is form a business entity, such as an LLC or a corporation. If you're an entrepreneur of any kind, it's important to separate your personal assets from your business. So how do you protect your personal assets? You protect your personal assets by having a company that allows your personal assets to be extricated from the equation should you be sued. And that, of course, means that you have to keep your company books correctly, and you have to do all the things that we've talked about in other shows to make sure your company is maintained properly so you're not considered to be an alter ego of your company. In other words, just a sham company. You don't want to have somebody reach you personally because you're not doing what you're supposed to do to keep your company in place properly. We've talked in other shows about general partnerships and limited partnerships, but corporations and limited liabilities companies would be the first thing you would want to do to protect your personal assets. So you form a business entity to protect your personal assets. What's another thing that you can do, Rick, to protect your business assets from lawsuits?
Well, you can also you should have them insured, right?
Yep, absolutely. You purchase insurance, and we talked about that in a specific show some time ago, where we said, "Hey, you need insurance and a business entity." Why? Because a business entity protects your personal assets. Insurance protects your business assets. So if you have a couple $1 million in business assets sitting in your place of business, and you're sued, your LLC or your S corporation is sued, those business assets can be reached by somebody who's successful in that lawsuit, unless you have insurance. Now, the insurance would pay any claim that's adjudicated against your business minus whatever deductible you have to pay, right? So it's common sense to have insurance, but not just any insurance. You're going to want to have commercial liability insurance in case somebody gets hurt on the premises. Obviously, we talked about workers' compensation insurance. Should an employee be injured? What about auto insurance to make sure your cars are covered in your business and your personal cars? And what about umbrella coverage? It's so inexpensive, Rick, to have an umbrella policy, a couple $100 a year, insure your business and your home for $5, $6, $7 million, just in case. And the payment you're making is well worth it. And of course, on the personal standpoint, you have homeowners insurance. You never go without that. That's a given. You could also have long-term care insurance. That protects a lot of your assets, because when we talk about protecting assets, it's not just protecting them from lawsuits, but protecting them from expenditures. If you have long-term care insurance, you're able to take care of some medical issues that you might otherwise have to pay Rick? Out of pocket, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So these are things that you want to take care of. And then what about retirement accounts? What about a pension plan? You remember the OJ case, right? How come OJ is able to collect all that money?
Oh, he had all that pension from the NFL.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not touchable because it's protected within his pension plan. And you can do similar things depending on the state you live in with retirement accounts. So check out IRAs with your tax attorney or your CPA and find out exactly what's available to you. You can title property in different people's names. You can title some property in your wife's name, for example, or in a living trust that's irrevocable. That's another way to protect assets. That way you have another entity besides yourself who owns the property, but yet you have a way to draw income from that property. It's a very unique structure that you can set up if you see the right lawyer and the lawyer who knows what he's doing. So there are so many things that you can do, Rick. And the only real final word I'd like to say on this is there's no substitute for working with a qualified and experienced individual in these matters. Do not attempt to do this on your own or to go someplace online to do it. That's really, really the key here.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake entrepreneurs and small business owners make, is that they try and do it themselves. There's a ton of resources out there online where they think, if I thoroughly go through this, I'm protected. But, as you always teach, every business is unique, and every landmine that you could possibly step over or miss may not be covered in a DIY type of approach. And that's why it's so important to reach out to somebody like Bill, who's a well-established business attorney that can point out these landmines and make sure that you are fully protected as you proceed on.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Rick, I think it's worth mentioning is, of course, with the DIY places, you don't have somebody following up with you. If you have a lawyer on board from the moment you start your business or the moment you start your asset protection strategy, which again should be taken over a long period of time. It shouldn't be implemented at the moment you find out you have a lawsuit that's coming down your way, because that could be overturned by the Fraudulent Transfer Act, which again is a subject of other shows that we've done. But anyway, long story short, you need to have an attorney who can follow up with you and say, okay, what do we need to change, or what do we need to do, or what do we need to do with this new asset you have, or this asset that you want to dispose of? You have to have somebody who can implement these changes that occur in your personal and business life, just like you have to have an estate attorney who updates your trust. The DIY places aren't going to do it. So take advantage of this stuff, folks. Listen to this stuff. Get an idea of what the foundational items are, and then please go see a lawyer and make sure you're protected both personally and professionally.
Or if you have questions, reach out to Bill. He's happy to take your call personally and answer any questions that you may have.
And where can they get a hold of us, Rick?
You can certainly reach us, the Bottled Business Sense Show.com. You can see all of our resources, past episodes there. We have several years of knowledge base episodes that we have. You can also reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus. We have a ton of information out there that links back to the website, as well as some posts. And if you, every once in a while we entertain guests to come on in the show. So if you have any interest or just some general questions, reach out to us on Gmail at bottledbusinesssenseshow@gmail.com. We're here on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday, here at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So, reach.
And we try to keep the shows short and sweet, to the point. We depend upon you guys to see the proper professionals to get legal advice or whatever other type of advice that you need to so it's particular to your situation and your scenario. We don't give out a specific advice or establish attorney-client or any other kind of relationship on the show. We try to provide you this free information as a framework so you can then go out on your own and do what you need to do as it pertains to your particular situation.
Right.
So having said all of that, I'm looking forward to the next show. If you have any closing thoughts, fine, Rick, but I'm hopeful that everybody got something out of the show, and I look forward to seeing everybody again for the next show very soon.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a reminder. We have a ton of episodes that talk about today's topic. Certainly help you along and give you the benefits and strategies to emphasize your business. In fact, on our next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the benefits of incorporating your business. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks again, Bill, for your knowledge. It's a whole host of information. I hope everyone take away with some great tips, some great strategies.
Thank you, Rick. We'll see you again real soon, everybody. Take care.